What's going on, everybody? A little bit of a later start than I wanted to get at today, but it is what it is. I'll have my episode with Greg Alba out a little bit later for Big Thing. But if you're brand new to the channel and you're here to check out the spoiler review of Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, Episode 1, thank you so much. Do me a favor and help us get to 70,000 by the end of the year. As I mentioned, I'm going out on my own, man. Going to be out on my own September 1st. First time. I've been out on my own once for like 2 months, but I've had a full-time job for the last 3 years. That's gone. Going to be doing this, and hopefully you guys can join me on the adventure. So, anyway, that being said, let's get into this spoiler episode 1 of House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. So I'm giving you, I've told this in my immediate reaction last night, and there are tons of reviews out there. There are tons of people who are talking about it. There are tons of people who have read the book and stuff. That's not this show. You're not going to get the, I'm going to mess up names. I'm going to do that. I'm kind of the casual viewer. So if you're a casual viewer like myself and you tune into the show and you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on, but I like the original Game of Thrones series and I'm trying to catch up with stuff and I want another schmuck like me who watches this the way that I do, hopefully this is your channel. If you're looking like, well, that's not accurate. You messed up this name and that name and that name. Not the channel. I recommend Ken Knapsack on his show. He's going to get all the names right. I'm learning as we go, so learn with me, if you please. That being said, I loved this episode. I really did. I loved this episode. I thought it was a great start because I didn't know what to expect going into it, you know? I knew that and again, up top, there are a lot of people who hated the last season of Game of Thrones. I did not. Did I think it was as good as the other ones? No. I thought that it was clearly rushed, and I thought that they went off the source. There was no source material for it, and they kind of went off on their own path. But how it concluded, and I think that they can probably make it up later with the Jon Snow series. Maybe not. That has nothing to do with this. This is 200 years before the original Game of Thrones, about 187 years before Daenerys is born. And it's all about the Targaryens. See, I messed up number one. The Targaryens, and so I didn't know if I was, because the Targaryens for a while they weren't like I was a Stark. I like the Starks. I was like a lot of people. I like the Starks, and I thought it was between the Starks and the Lannisters, and then the Targaryens started getting into it, and the legacy of the Targaryens started to become more and more of a thing, as you learned in the show, and then obviously the connection with Daenerys and Jon Snow, and the way that all that played out, and there's what I love about it, the amount of history that seems to be there, and the stuff that I always liked about old schools like Star Wars when it started was the original trilogy was there was always like this lived-in universe, and there was like you believed in all this history and the mention of the Clone Wars and all that, and Game of Thrones had that times 1,000 with the amount of like these history books that were there, and George R.R. Martin knows it so well that all these events and things that had happened. So when they were going to make this series, like, it just didn't seem like a cash grab to me at all. It seemed like, oh, this is a world that he knows very, very well. He knows these things that happened in his head, and they're going to bring that. Now, do I care enough about the Targaryens? And I absolutely did, like 100%. Boy, did I ever. I think that the way, even when they started it out with the prologue, which was really smart, and they said it at the end of the episode on the little thing, that they wanted to start with the episode to really get you into, this was such an important event, where there had to be a choosing of who was going to be the new heir, and they didn't want the house to kind of be at war with each other over the Iron Throne. And you eventually get and I love that they said it was a time of peace. He was a peace king, and it's passed on to King Viserys Targaryen, who's played by Paddy Considine. And it's ultimately because he's a man, and they didn't want to give it to a queen. So he goes on and he takes over, and that's basically just to say, hey, that's who you're dealing with right now. And I love the idea because, again, when you are introduced in Game of Thrones, the original series, it's chaos, and everybody's trying to kill each other and one-up each other and bang each other and do all this stuff, and it's chaos when you first introduced to that world. It's like everybody's trying to take over the throne, and it's just they're just bad people running amok. It was refreshing to see the start of this. I mean, clearly there's going to be another chess game here, and that's what they're setting up. But I like that when we're starting with King Viserys, who's a peaceful king as well, or at least trying to be, and trying to hold that court the way that his predecessor did. And then it gets into the politics that we liked in Game of Thrones. And I also like the fact that it's not just, there's the evil guy who's trying to take over, because when they introduce when Matt Smith comes in, I didn't know. Again, from the trailers, I thought it was going to be Matt Smith's series, and it very well could be. But I thought he was going to be the one in charge and all that, and he was running shop. And he's got there's like a Jamie Lannister thing in there a bit, you know, and the way that he's the top knight in town. But I like his code. It's a crazy code. It's a violent code, but he's got a code, and even the fact that he's just not looking to betray people. He just believes to rule by strength. And that's what I liked about the episode, is that they basically take you through each person, say this is who this person is, and this is what they're going to be about, and you learn stuff, and it's character development, very strong character development and story development within the first, you know, hour that you get here. And as you see, when King Viserys takes over, he's got his wife, he's trying to get that heir, and they keep having issues. And he's like, I've got to have a son. I got to have a son because I got to get the next heir in here to make sure that it continues on and the house stays peaceful, and can't get it done. So the heir is going to be Daemon Targaryen, because he's the one who's next in line, played by Matt Smith. But he's out there and he's got his crew, and they come back in. The way he's introduced is amazing. It's like, all right, they put us in charge. Let's show the criminals what's going on here. And I thought this was just a great way to say the violent, crazy stuff that you saw in the original series is still here. But it was also the way that they introduced it was, yeah, but they're introducing it and not in the way that you saw where like just all this like really crazy stuff was happening to people, like good people and bad. And I'm sure that's again going to happen. But up top, it's like, no, that person raped someone, cut their dick off. That person stole something, cut your fucking hand off. And now your head's in a barrel. Wow. Okay, that's who that guy is. That's who that guy is. And as I said before, he's got a code. And you're like, okay, so that's not someone you're going to want to necessarily mess with. But I also, fast forwarding a little bit too, he's not like this indestructible force. He lost the battle. And I also love the idea that when he lost and he had to yield to the dude from Dorne, I was like, okay, what's he going to do? Is he's going to cut his leg off or something, or he's going to stick him when his back's turned, he's going to get away with it. He didn't. He just yielded. He said, all right, I lost. And that guy is probably going to be a bigger character down the road. And I love that. And I like the juxtaposition in that whole scene. And they mention it later on. If you watch the whole episode, they tell you how at one point the queen is telling the daughter, who's ultimately the lead of the show, Rhaenyra, that, hey, this is our battlefield. And then you see the men's battlefield, and it's this back and forth where she ultimately loses her life, which was a tough scene to watch. No doubt. And I saw a lot of people tweeting about it and talking about how rough it was. But, you know, and I know the argument was made that this is, yes, it's a fantasy series. It is. But it's always taken from, like, as if it was real history and as if it was history that we're familiar with, the Roman history, all of that stuff. And it's always been infused that way. And so I don't think that it's a change that it's it's not easy to watch. It's not for everybody. There's no doubt, but I understand 100% why it was in there because it is that fact that she set that up with, this is our battlefield. This is what we do. And the fact that they don't really have, and it is from everything going on today. It's a tough watch. The fact that she didn't have control over it. They did say, you know, that she was going to die regardless, and the position that the king was in, devastating, because he's got to basically choose his wife's death to get his son, and his son dies anyway. It was brutal. He's going to lose both of them anyway. Brutal. That was a very hard scene to watch, but also because you set up the fact that King Viserys is a good dude. He's not. It wasn't like this move, like, okay, yeah, I got to sack. Like, you've seen stuff in Game of Thrones where it's like, yeah, okay, let the wife die. Hell, in freaking Henry VIII, man, Henry VIII would have let his wife die pretty quick. He didn't want. It was a devastating moment, and I actually thought it was a pretty great moment where is it? I have it in here somewhere too. Yeah, this scene, this back and forth when they're watching. Rhys Ifans playing the Hand of the King is doing a great job too, because he's got, you know, it looks like he's a very loyal man, and then he's sending his daughter out to the king to maybe try to get an heir. I don't know what was going on in that scene. You guys can tell me in that particular one. But this whole scene with Matt Smith where he ultimately yields, and then the queen was so good. She was so good. That's the scene, the battlefield scene I was talking about. But this was the scene to me that I thought really worked well. And it was Matt Smith really being the one lending his. It's the time he really lets his guard down and shows kind of a softer side in this scene, because throughout the entire time with Millie Alcock, who does a great job the entire time as the young Princess Rhaenyra, and she's known that her dad just kind of ignored her the whole time because he's never had a son, and she's just kind of overtaken with sadness, and it's Daemon who steps up and says, "Look, your dad needs you right now. You got to step up." And she tells the dragon to light the fire, and does. So it's this family dynamic, this weird kind of Kardashian thing going on through the Targaryens, but it is, and they're all kind of battling it out, and they're having family drama, and again, you don't know what's going to happen and how it's going to play, because I was pretty shocked that they had this whole scene where Rhys Ifans is saying, "Look, your brother can't be the guy. He just can't. He's too violent. It's nuts." And the other people arguing for him. He's like, "You can't." He's like, "The other heir is potentially your daughter." And like, no woman has ever sat on the throne. You can't do that. And it's the king who starts sticking up for Daemon, and he's listening. And I'm like, okay, well, he's listening. He's got to hear that his brother stood up for him. And then he's hammered, and he says the thing about his dead nephew, king for a day or whatever it was, and that just set the king off, man. And you're like, no, I can't do that. And I love that scene again. He brings him in, and he says to him, "Did you say that?" He's like, "I did say it. I did, and we grieve in our own way. But like, I should have been the hand, not the other dude. It should have been me. And it's because you're weak, buddy. And they all know you're weak." He's like, "All right, I'm weak. Get the fuck out of here. How about that? Get lost. My daughter's going to run." He's like, "I'm your heir." He's like, "No, you're not. Get lost. Beat it." But it pained him. It wasn't that easy. And then we get to the very end of it, where you have this is the ultimate. They set it up like this. This is the show, right? It's like, okay, this is your heir. This is going to be the queen, because we know that the king has this disease, and I think he's going to kind of play the. I like the appearance by one of the Starks, by the way. That was awesome in the north. But anyway. You're putting the queen. This is going to be your queen eventually. She's going to be running the shop, and there's going to be a battle, because not everybody's going to deal with the fact that you got a woman on the throne, and so there's going to be the politics of the Game of Thrones that we know. And I love the score in this show. Oh, chef's kiss. So good, because I was wondering if they were going to play the original theme to start, and they didn't, but it's there. If you listen to it, it starts to play, and it really gets heavier at the very end when they announce that she's going to be the heir, and you hear the music kind of build up. And I thought it was a great swell at the very end, and then you see the preview to the ultimate, the whole thing and how it plays out. So I loved episode 1. Thought it was great. Very curious to hear what you guys think. Are you on board with this so far? What were some of your favorite parts? There was some brutal shit going on, very Roman-esque with the battle and the tournament, and it's just like everyone's like, "Oh yeah, some guy just got his face ripped off." On the rules. And it didn't seem like a lot of people were shocked that was going down. Even when Dorne had the guy from Dorne had the prince down. It's like, "Yield, dude. I don't want to kill you in front of all your people. Come on, show a little." And he didn't. And all that was great. I thought it was the politics behind it. I was really, really satisfied with episode 1, and the dragons weren't too much. The dragons were just enough. So yeah, I really dug it. Very curious to hear what you guys thought. What did you think overall? Did you like the show? Did you expect to like the show? Did you read the book? And do you think that they, from what I read in a few of the comments from my immediate reaction, was that they stayed pretty true to the book? So what say you? Do you think so? Do you care? Do you not care? And I want to know your overall thoughts on what you think. I thought Matt Smith was phenomenal, by the way. Phenomenal. I thought everybody was phenomenal. The standouts to me, I think, were, again, Paddy Considine as King Viserys, Matt Smith, obviously, as Daemon, Millie Alcock as Rhaenyra, and then Rhys Ifans as Otto Hightower. Those are the ones that really stood out to me. But I can't wait to watch more, and I want to know what you guys think. So, again, these are the spoiler reviews. I hope you enjoyed it. By the way, if you're brand new to the channel and you have never tried Storyblocks before and you're a video person, head on over to Storyblocks. They have really great plans, like unlimited plans, helps out your video content. People who've been watching my show have been trying it out. You can get a little bit of a if you go to storyblocks.com/big thing, you can check out one of their plans over there. I would go and check that out and let me know if you try it and you like it. Go ahead and check it out. It's storyblocks.com/big thing. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. This is the Kristian Harloff channel. Help us get to 70,000 subscribers, and we'll see you on the flip side. A lot of stuff going on. I'm going to go see that movie Barbarian tonight. I'll have immediate reaction out tonight. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace, everybody. Yeah.